very skeptical of deals as they're coming across your inbox. And the real reason is most of these wholesalers, they have great intentions, but ultimately they don't really care if the deal works out for you long term. What I want to do is, I just got an email from a wholesaler with a deal. I'm going to go out and look at this property, and I'll walk through and tell you how much the renovation would be. I'm going to tell you how much it would rent for. I'm going to go through everything. If it's not a deal, then I'm going to tell you why it's not a deal and what you should be watching out for as you examine these wholesale deals. All right, so here we are, we're turning on the block, and it's right off a really busy road, and a hospital is right there, which isn't like the worst thing. Not so bad. We've got a few houses right here, older homes. That's like a shotgun house, but then it kind of gets sketchy, and here is our property. Okay, so I'm at this property. The initial take here is I don't like the fact that there's a vacant lot next to me. There's a vacant lot across the street. There's a couple of okay houses around here. It's near a very busy street, like I mentioned before. It's almost like this area, this little pocket is by itself on an island. You've got more just vacant land, and that's what I mean by this place kind of being on an island, kind of by itself. But let's take a look, because the wholesaler said that to renovate this property, it's gonna be about $45,000 to get it ready to rent. So I'm gonna walk around the outside, just see if that's really the case. So first thing I notice is just tons of peeling paint, right? So this property is gonna have to be painted, new doors. Never a good sign when you see a bullet hole in the window right here. Not usually a good sign that you're in a great place. Looks like somebody had started on this. They had done a little bit of work, but had not finished. Let's walk around out here. They've bolted this door shut to keep people from spending the night here. Nice. That's gonna be a problem. I think you're gonna potentially need new windows, need new siding for a lot of this. You're gonna need probably a new roof. You're gonna need central heat and air, which it doesn't have right now. I don't know if it's got all the ductwork for that or not. I didn't see anywhere where it did. If we did new windows, new flooring, new paint, new roof, HVAC, I can promise you already it's going to be more than $45,000. $1,500 is what they said it would rent for. That's going to be $750 per side. It's going to be 2-bedroom, 1 bath on each side. I'm not sure if that's really a good number. So what I've done is we have somebody on our team, and all they do is rental estimates for us based on data. And so I'll have that number here in a little bit, but yeah, this is gonna take a lot of work. This is why you have to come out to these properties, because you have to see what the neighborhood is like. You have to walk around and say, hey, is a resident going to want to move here? So what's next door with a vacant lot? Well, you could have rodents, you could have snakes, you could have all kinds of things. And then ultimately it's just gonna be overgrown like it already is. You don't want like your kids playing around near a vacant lot if you're a resident. This doesn't really scare me, the bullet hole. I have looked at houses that have had dead pit bulls inside. I mean, you would be amazed at the types of houses I've seen. Yeah, just maybe a stray bullet. Maybe they were celebrating or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of sketchy.
Everyone dreams of buying rental real estate that is pumping out cash flow every single month. But here is the truth. Most people are buying real estate that is sucking the cash out of their bank accounts. Now, what I've realized is that most wholesalers are overestimating ARVs, underestimating renovations. And when an investor buys those deals, it becomes a nightmare. I was just pitched this deal. So I'm gonna show you what I would be looking at if I were buying this property. I wanna walk through the numbers with you, and let's just look at what the wholesaler told me about this deal, okay? So it is a duplex. Let's just lay this out. It's a duplex. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath on each side. It's probably around 600 square foot each side. And he told me that the repairs were going to be $45,000. And then he told me that the ARV was 140,000. And then what he said is it was a vacant property, as you saw on the video, but he also said that the rents were $1,500 a month. So when I'm looking at this, if I were to look at this and I were to say, okay, I can buy this. Oh, by the way, the price is $38,000. Let's just go ahead and say $40,000 with closing costs. So it's $40,000 with closing costs. If I'm adding the renovation to that, that's going to be $85,000. But I've got a $140,000 property, and this thing is bringing in $1,500 a month in rent. I mean, on paper, all day long, this works. You would look at this if somebody were selling you a turnkey property, completely renovated, painted, good roof, HVAC, everything's done on the property, and you had $85,000 all in, and it was renting for $1,500 a month. I would say that is a big W. Do you see how this could be seen as a very attractive deal? And so somebody who's sitting there behind a computer screen gets the numbers, they start running their pro forma, and they go, oh, it's $140,000 ARV after repair value, but guess what? It's going to appreciate 5% every year, and then the rent's going to go up every single year. So $1,500 a month, which would be $750 per side. In 5 years, I'm going to be getting $1,000 per side. And so you start thinking, this is going to be a fantastic deal. But want to let you in on reality. I'm going to show you the real numbers, and let's just see if it really is a good deal. Okay, so let's get into the numbers, and then let's turn and look at other things that you need to consider. So I'm really going to kind of draw this line. So we're going to stick over here. We know the property is going to cost $40,000, $38,000 plus closing costs. Let's just say 40, and they said 45 to repair this. There's no way that it's just going to be 45. Now, it's not like 2,000 or 3,000 square feet. So I would still think it's probably going to be somewhere close to 70 to get this thing up and in great shape with central heating and air. It doesn't even have that. So right here alone, you're looking at $110,000. Don't even need to think about ARV, because besides for purposes of a loan, the ARV on this property doesn't matter all that much, because this is not a property that you can go and sell to a retail person. The only people who are buying this property are investors. And I can promise you, investors, especially local investors around here, are not going to be paying $110,000 for this property. Now, I did the research and we came up with how much this should rent for. We said each side should rent for $675, and then if it stayed on the market with no interest for 14 days, we should drop it to $625. So you're talking about $1,250 a month. That is not $1,500 a month. And so you may think, well, Spencer, $110,000, $1,250 a month, that's not too bad. That's better than the 1% rule. Don't you think I should still do this deal? Well, let me give you my list of reasons why I think you should not do this deal. Right here, number one, you have vacant lots everywhere around this property. Everywhere, if you're staring at the property to the right, there's just vacant lot across the street. There's vacant lots everywhere. And first of all, you have rodents, you have things. I've already mentioned all this stuff, but then who wants to live next to an overgrown lot? And then you've got busy streets all around. You have in this area, if you don't know the area, if you're buying from out of state and you don't really know the area, these are the things you don't know. This is going to be a high crime area. And so I called it a Class D. Class A is the best. Class B is upper middle class. Class C is good working class. Those are good working class neighborhoods. Class D, sketchy. And Class F, super sketch. So you want to stay away from areas that are high crime. What else is wrong with the area? I just don't like the house. It's good 80 years old. So it's an older property. You're going to continue to have problems with this property over the years, especially if you own it for any length of time. And so there's going to be more repairs and maintenance than you can imagine. And then ultimately, small little duplexes, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 500 square feet on each side. They are going to be higher turnover than a single family residential that's 1,000 square foot, which is a relatively small, maybe a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. These are going to be higher turnover. And so you're going to have more vacancy than you imagined. And so when you start combining all these things right here together, this leads me to believe, what is my offer going to be? I'll tell you exactly what my offer is going to be. 0. I wouldn't offer a dime for this property. Now, if you said, well, Spencer, what if I got it for $1? Or what if I got it for $1,000 or $2,000? You know what? You may take a gamble, but just look at what you're going to have to do with that property right there. You're still going to have to come up with $70,000 to renovate this property. And then do you really want $70,000 going into a property in a really sketchy part of town that is not going to appreciate? Nobody's going to give you $140,000 for that property. So don't think that if you do this work and you have 110 in it, you can go and sell it for 140 or 150. It's just not going to happen. You're just going to have to find somebody who's willing to take a massive risk to do that. And there are fewer and fewer people out there who are willing to risk for pieces of property like this. I can't tell you how many investors I have talked to over my past 20 years in real estate who have bought properties like this before. They have just blindly followed wholesalers. And listen, I don't have anything against wholesalers. I used to be a wholesaler. But when I was selling property, I was selling to people in my city that could go and walk the property and then decide, do they want to buy it or not? Now we have all these out-of-state investors, and wholesalers are like, hey, they don't know any difference. If you have a local wholesaler who's actually walked this property, I can promise you, if they've walked this property, they know it's not worth this. They know it's not worth $140,000. They know it's not worth $38,000. They know that $45,000 is too little of a renovation budget. So you have to be super, super skeptical. You need to actually walk the property. You need to have your own estimation of repairs and renovations. You need to talk to a property manager who would rent this and ask them, how much would you be willing to, or you feel comfortable renting this property for? And then I think even an objective question, if you want to get really smart, if you contacted a local property manager and you just asked them, would you add this property to your portfolio? See how they react to that question. I've been asked that, and I just give my very honest opinion, because at the end of the day, if I'm a property manager and I tell you, oh yeah, I'd buy it, but I really didn't want to buy it, guess who's going to have to manage that property? We are. And that property is going to be nothing but a nightmare. And we don't want to do that. So I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And I don't want to see you make the same mistakes that I've seen hundreds of real estate investors make over the years. So be very, very careful, be skeptical. Walk the property, walk the street, do your own analysis. Don't just blindly trust wholesalers. Again, nothing against wholesalers, but you have to be very, very careful. So this is my advice on this one. I wouldn't pay a dime for this property, and I hope that you wouldn't either. And if you think this property is cheap at $38,000, I went out to a property that was sold for $15,000, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So if you're interested in seeing what that property was like, go ahead and check out this video right here.